Having said that, one of the things that neuroscience is beginning to tell us is the reliance on intellect and reason and facts is misplaced. And we need to treat human beings based on what they're actually capable of doing. So we're going to do a little experiment here. Charlie, how many people do you think are in the room right now?
There are about 40,
35, 40 people in the room. I'm going to do a little experiment with the people in the room. I'm going to ask you to follow along. I'm going to subject you to a very brief piece of video. It's only 30 seconds long. If anyone has ever seen this video before, please withdraw from the experiment silently. Please let the others participate in the experiment. I imagine that everyone here is reasonably smart. You wouldn't have advanced in your careers to the point that you come to a Business Marketing Association meeting if you weren't reasonably smart. I also suggest that it isn't hard to count in whole numbers. And let's see how good you are at counting whole numbers. We're going to watch a 30-second piece of video. There's 6 people in the video. 3 of them are wearing white shirts. 3 of them are wearing black shirts. The folks in white are passing a basketball among themselves. The folks in black are passing a basketball among themselves. I want you to count how many times the players wearing white pass a basketball among themselves. Who's seen this before? Okay, you guys don't talk. Okay, the rest of you talk. So count how many times the players wearing white pass a basketball.
Count how many times the players wearing white pass the basketball.
Okay, I'm going to ask you, those of you who've never seen this before, by show of hands, how many thought the basketball passed 12 times? How many thought 13 times? We keep them up. 3. How many thought 14 times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. How many thought 15 times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many thought 16 times? 1, 2. Let me suggest, before we even talk about how many times the basketball passed, it isn't hard to count to 13 or 14 or 15 or 16. And this is a room of pretty smart people. You couldn't agree among yourselves how many times the basketball passed. And it wasn't just one of you. There were 3 and 4 and 9 and 1. There's the outlier. The correct answer is 15. Woo! Yes, yes. The correct answer is 15. But let me ask you a different question. Who thought it was 15? Show of hands. Who thought it was 14? And most people thought it was 14. This is really interesting. Let me ask you who thought it was 13 or 14 or 15 or 16. The correct answer is 15. Did you see the gorilla? Okay, hold on. Who did not see the gorilla? About half the people who had never seen the tape before did not see the gorilla. Those who saw the gorilla, raise your hands. What did it do? Grant, what did it do?
It made you lose count.
It made you lose count, right? What else did it do? It distracted you, but what was it doing? It was just walking around, I think. It was just walking around, I think. There's a qualifier there. What was it doing? It went into the middle of the room and danced. It's a dancing gorilla. It came into the middle of the room and it danced. That's the dance you just did. It danced. You didn't see it, so you can't. What did it do? Did you see it? No. Did you see it? Yeah. What did it do?
It just moved around.
It just moved around. What did it do?
Beat its chest.
It beat its chest. Did you see it beat its chest? No. Well, watch. Let's watch.
Did you see the gorilla?
said no. Yeah. So now that you've seen the tape backwards and slow motion, what do you conclude? You did not see it, and you, whoa. We have very selective vision. It's not the vision. You see just fine. Concentration. The direction was to watch the white shirts. We are task focused. So here's what we find. Here's what we find. There's actually two different sets of implications from this that are really, really interesting and really important. The first is human beings are easily distracted. Human beings are easily distracted. And we may think we are multitasking, but we don't actually multitask. We serially task in microbursts. And when we're doing one thing, we're really not doing the other thing. It's not that we're doing two things simultaneously. We're just going back and forth between doing one thing and not doing the other, and doing the other thing and not doing the first. And what we now find, I do a lot of work with automobile insurance companies. And they are horrified by the whole idea of texting while driving. There are more fatal accidents texting while driving than driving under the influence of alcohol. And that's because everybody texts, not everybody drinks and drives, but also when you're texting, you don't see the gorilla. When you're texting, you don't see the bicycle running in front of the car. You don't see the stoplight. You don't see the stop sign. You don't see that the road has bent and that you're going straight into a tree. You just don't see it. This is what is known as cognitive tunneling. When we're doing one task, we ignore other stuff that isn't task. So the lady in the back said, but you told us to count the basketballs passed among the white shirts. You were task focused and you didn't see the other stuff. Anytime anyone is multitasking, you don't have their undivided attention. Most audiences, most of the time, are multitasking. By the way, most mobile audiences, most of the time, are multitasking. I actually saw a sign the other day says, no texting while walking. And that's because people are now walking down the street texting, bumping into people, bumping into buildings, falling off of curbs. There was even the YouTube video of the guy in the mall who was walking in the mall and fell into a fountain. And you had a hand up. I want to acknowledge.
To see if there was more analysis done on that, and it was usually there was a difference between men and women on the answers. Because usually women can do like
I've been doing this a couple of years, and I've not detected a pattern. Well, the pattern is usually very straightforward. About half the people don't see the gorilla at all. And about 2/3 of those who see the gorilla didn't notice that the gorilla thumped its chest. In this room, only one person declared that the gorilla thumped its chest. That's about average for a group this size. So
the gorilla had been dressed in white.
We can alter the variables in the experiment. I didn't do the experiment, somebody else did the experiment, but the experiment tells us human beings have a really hard time paying attention, even on something relatively simple. Forget the gorilla. How many basketball passes were there among white shirts? We couldn't even agree on among ourselves. And think about how often an audience is asked to consider something. And if you can't even agree on how many times the basketball passed, how are you going to agree on what the guy speaking actually said? Well, this places a huge burden on people who present to repeat a lot, because at any given time, people aren't paying attention. And one of the things I hear from clients all the time is, I've said that. I've said that. Don't need to say that. How many times do I have to say that? And the answer is a lot. You need to say it a lot. You need to say it a lot because at any given moment, people aren't paying attention. The other thing we find is, as was said by the woman in the white jacket, I can't believe what I see. It's not that you have to have your eyes checked. Your eyes are fine. It's your brain. But there's nothing wrong with your brain. Your brain was just being a brain. And that's what brains do. They cognitively tunnel. Well, this has huge implications when people are under stress, when people are tired, when people are busy, when people are somewhat beleaguered, when they're scared. In other words, on any given workforce day, much of your workforce isn't paying attention at any given time, and we need to take this into account. When we're marketing to people, very often they are immune to what we're saying because they're just not paying attention. They are multitasking. Now, if you thought the gorilla and you're not seeing the gorilla freaked you out, wait till you see the next one because it's going to blow your mind.